Welcome to Kind of Joy Ministry, where we explore the transformative journeys of individuals shaped by faith. Today, we're honored to have Florian Berndt, a beacon of hope from Germany, sharing his encounter with the unfailing love of God. Born into turmoil, Florian's faith journey led him from religious fundamentalism to radical grace. Now, that's a testimony. Lauren's teenage encounter with Jesus provided solace amidst his parents' divorce, but also led him into fear-driven evangelism. However, a revelation of grace propelled him on quest for truth, challenging traditional doctrines. Sounds like many of our stories here. Now, with his wife, Claire, they cultivate a community of acceptance in their historic schoolhouse, fostering connection and empowering others to hear God's voice directly. Join us as Florian invites us into the realm of divine love and inclusion. Welcome Florian Berndt to the podcast. Together with his wife, Claire, Florian creates a sanctuary of acceptance and fellowship in their 9th century schoolhouse turned into a community hub. I'd so love to be there. Sounds like fun. Their shared love for music and worship fosters an environment of connection and communion with Abba. Through their teachings, Florian empowers others to embrace the belief that God speaks directly to each individual, transcending the barriers of dogma and exclusivity.
Hey,
Hello, is it good evening over there?
yeah, it's almost good night.
Yeah, this is a good night over there, right? What time?
No, it's 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Yeah,
10
10 o'clock.
o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bright
So
and sunny here. It's 4 p.m. and I'm in the northeast of the country, northeast New England.
okay, yes, yes.
Yep. So it's actually just starting to become sunny. So
Oh
everyone's got
wow.
that spring fever. Everyone's super full of joy and excited about the summer coming. So
Yeah,
yeah.
here too. People are slowly having enough of the rain and the cold, and yeah.
Nice.
I actually just came back from it was our wedding anniversary, so we went for
Oh,
one day to France. We're living at the French border,
okay.
and then it was a busy day.
Have
Yeah.
have you ever been to France?
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Right.
No, we to explain where we live. It's called the Three Countries Corner. So we've got like 20 minutes into Switzerland. So we live on the German side, and we've got 20 minutes into France. So we go to Switzerland and France all the time.
Wow, lucky. I love that. I'll go to your community fellowship anytime.
Yeah.
Please
So,
use it as a hostel where bounce around, glory hopping at all the churches around there. What's it like at the churches there where you live in general? I know yours is very different, but
yeah.
in general, what's the most popular denomination in
I
the area?
think at the moment it's. I mean, what where we live is called the German Bible Belt. So
Oh,
it's a lot of traditional
mhm.
stuff. There are now some more charismatic type of stuff popping up, and yeah, but in general, that would be like kind of the flavor. We would have also a lot of like traditional Pentecostal style kind of
Okay.
churches.
A little bit of a
So
mix.
yeah, so a lot of we are doing is kind of outside of the traditional
Yeah, I
of churches.
can't wait to hear about it. So I just finished your introduction, just introduced you a little bit,
Okay.
summarized what you gave me. The information sounds really interesting, and I really look forward to getting to know you. I've only just met you online a couple of years ago, when I joined Abba's Calling.
Yeah, yes.
Just to start out, let's jump to that, and then we'll go to your past. But when did you start Abba's Calling, and why?
Okay. Our calling is based on the book of my friend and co-host of our podcast, Charles Slagle. So Charlie and I, we go way back in I think in the 90s, something like that, and I had underwent around this time. I went this kind of what they call now deconstruction, and Charlie had he had gone through a crisis experience where he really struggled with this whole concept of hell and so on, and so I had befriended him around that time, and because I had found his book while living in the UK, From the Father's Heart, which was the original first book that is part of the Abba Calling book.
Mhm.
So through our friendship over the years, he's not so tech savvy, and he asked me at some point if we want to start a podcast and a group together, because he wanted to bring people together to listen to Abba's voice and experiencing for ourselves outside of all the how should I say, some of the more toxic dynamics that crept into some of the prophetic stuff that we see
Yeah.
today.
Before you
And
keep going, can you turn up your sound a little bit for me?
yes,
Just a
yes,
little. It's probably just me, but I'm having some trouble hearing you.
okay. Is it better now?
Let's see.
Is it better now?
Say again.
Is it better?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. It should be fine here.
Yeah. Now it sounds more clear. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It is better. Mhm.
I hear a bit of a high sound in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah. I hear that too. I'm unsure what that is. I'm at my husband's studio and I'm not used to the setup here. My computer crashed. I lost a lot of files.
Oh no,
Oh no,
I
Lord,
hate when
what
that
are you
happens.
doing?
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
funny when stuff like that happens. I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. It just makes me think. I don't know. I'm weird. I get like kind of excited. It's weird. People are like, why aren't you freaking out? Like my husband's like, oh my gosh, I would be freaking out. I'm like, I don't know. I think that God lets these things happen sometimes for reasons. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna fuss over it. Like, it's nothing I
yeah.
can do. It's gone. It's gone. Like I can't bring it back. If he's gonna bring it back, he brings it back. And I just had that attitude. And actually the next day, everything came back anyway. So,
Oh, great. That's good.
I think he wanted me
Yeah,
to take a break.
yeah. Maybe that's it. You never know, is it?
I tend to be a workaholic.
Oh yeah. I've got German blood, right? So
Yeah, me too. Half German, half Italian. So it's crazy blood all around.
workaholic is kind of the the
Yep,
thing.
yep.
Where was I?
So you were
No.
talking about your relationship with Charles and starting up the
Yes.
Abba's Calling.
That's right. I think originally it was Don Keatley who
Oh,
encouraged Charles to start a group, and but he didn't know how to go about it and so on. And so we talked about it, and he asked me if I could help him, and so we just set it up. I mean, at the moment, I'm still trying to figure things out with technology and stuff. Yeah, I was just
yeah.
I just finished a master's degree and got my work on the side and two kids.
In what? What's
I did a master's degree in theology and culture,
okay?
and with
Interesting.
St. Stephen's University in Canada,
Okay.
with Brad Jozek. He was my
Oh wow.
supervisor,
Oh wow.
and yeah, so I just finished this Sunday, so I just had my graduation.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That and the wedding anniversary.
And the
Double.
wedding anniversary, yes. And we
Claire,
and
right? Claire. Yeah.
yeah, with Claire. Yeah, that's all right. My wife's name is Claire, and she's half Irish, half English. So they emigrated here in 1997, and we got married in 2001. Yeah, and then we moved to the UK for a couple of years and came back to where we live now. I mean, we moved in Germany a couple of times, but and we've been living in this house at the moment for 10 years. And right now we're planning actually to move across the border into Switzerland.
I heard Switzerland's very peaceful.
Yes, and very clean. Yeah, it's not a big country, right? So you can drive through it in a few hours, and it's a beautiful country. I mean, there's.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is Charles? You and Charles are going to be podcasting on GAN? Do you think? Because he said Don Keathley, so I'm connecting the dots here. Maybe.
Yeah, I've been talking to Charlie about it. If that's a possibility to do. When you talked to me about it, I mean, to be honest, the last couple of weeks I haven't been, if not months, I haven't been much online. So I really need to get into it again and to get the podcast going again. But yeah, we certainly want to start again, and because I think there's some. It's good to have these conversations, you know. And,
yeah, it really is, and it's good to have like it's just short. It's only like 28-minute clips, and I'm lucky because I had already made a bunch of clips, films, and different things just for fun.
Yeah.
And I just like, I'm taking some from the past and some from that I just started all over because I wanted to start fresh. And I've just been
Cool.
talking to them about it, and they said that's fine. So, so I already
Well,
have some material.
yeah.
And that's at first I thought when they said live at 5:30 every morning, I thought I'd have to like be ready at 5:30 a.m. I'm like, oh my goodness, but you just pre-record them, so you can.
Okay, that's how it works.
So just so you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. Need to pick your brain
Yeah.
about it. So
You could submit like 6 at one time or just one per week, whatever you want to do.
oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
No, I think it's a great opportunity, and it's a great setup to do
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
know, yeah, I mean, Charlie and Don, they know each other for years, because he was originally from Texas,
Mhm.
and now he lives in Arizona. But so they must have known each other from way back,
Yeah.
and kind of also had a very similar journey in terms of the whole inclusion,
Okay.
uh, hell, and all those kind of
Mhm.
things. The Father's love. That's how we connected. Where Charlie and I connect is about this revelation of the Father's love, that we are really his sons and his daughters, that we're his children, and we've always been loved, and we will always be loved, and he's doing the best for us. And when we did our worst to him, to Jesus, then he did his best for us and to us, right?
Yeah.
And he included us into this family relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's how Abba Calling got started. And then at some point we started doing like these hangouts, and then it developed into a podcast. And yeah.
I love how John Crowder says, and it's not your fault. He
Yes.
says that like, because for me, I have like the Catholic guilt. I'm part Catholic, part Protestant, but
Yeah.
yeah, there was always the guilt, and
Yes.
I remember going to a Bible school thing in the summer, and they had us we had to nail our sins to the cross.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was young and I was like crying and I didn't want to do it and I felt real pressure. It just didn't feel right, whatever. And but at the time, like, so I did it, and and no
Yeah.
condemnation, but I don't think you have to make people go through it like that. Like it should just,
Uh, no.
yeah. So I don't know.
I,
But
I, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I find it really difficult when with children, even when you teach them, you kill Jesus kind of thing, it's like,
yeah, that's how
nah.
I felt. It's like it's the worst. It's like
Yeah.
we're terrible sinners. We deserve hell, and it's just
Yeah.
so it's so
All this.
sad to me. Like I can't believe people can tell their kids that. And now I have kids, and I'm like, oh, I do everything in my power to like not let that influence go through her because I've
Yeah.
already taught her the gospel since she was little, and my husband and I. But we also let her go to. She really, really wanted to go to this Baptist Bible school. Like it's
Yeah.
really a fun opportunity. It's almost like a camp. It's called Awana, and they do songs
Yeah.
and dances,
Yeah.
and they get badges. It's almost like a Girl Scout, Boy Scout type
Yeah.
thing. So I let her enjoy it, but I told
Yeah.
her they're going to say things that might not be what mommy and daddy taught
Yeah.
you, but you remember those scripture verses that I taught you. Can anything separate you from God ever? No, mommy. you know, what's the fire of God? His love. What's the
That's
consuming
good.
fire? His
Yeah.
love. Stuff like that. So
That's
she,
great.
and then because one time she came home and she started talking about the fires and whatever. So I said, I told you some people are gonna say that. But she was fine. So yeah.
No, I think that's the best way to do it. And when I try to teach my kids mostly also through experience, like you can experience God for yourself, because that's no one can take that from them.
Right.
And yeah, I had to think about it a lot recently about how indoctrination and stuff works, and but that somehow the experience always sticks with you, even when you have later to sort out the stuff. And I'm always surprised for the kids what sticks, like you sometimes have this feeling, like, did anything remain there, what I try to teach you and tell you, and then you realize, oh, they have their walk with God, they're learning, and he's in their lives, and he's actually looking after them, and he's teaching them. And I think the way you do it is then the kids come and they tell you about it, and then you have a conversation about it, and then it's not traumatic, right? You just say,
Yeah.
this person said this about God. Is that true? Well, that's weird, and then you can kind of even take it as an opportunity to say, okay, what's God's voice saying in your heart,
Mhm.
and that's kind of also the idea behind Abba calling and all what I'm doing in my ministry
Mm.
with particularly young people in a more traditional setting as well, and to teach them how you can engage with him and you can engage with his heart, and it always surprises me when in the end, where even young people where thought nothing stuck with them, they come like, I really feel like now I get to know God, and that's just beautiful to watch that. Yeah.
Oh,
But,
so you have a children's ministry too, or youth center?
yes,
What,
more.
like,
I'm a little bit involved with the children, but mostly like youth and young adults. So
Mhm.
youth would be like 14 to 18, and then from 18 to 30.
Okay.
So that's still young, yeah. But so that's kind of I'm working part-time for a more traditional church, and that's where I would do these things, and when I'm pretty much free to do this. And but I also used to work as a street pastor and things like that, with homeless people on the street and so on, and where I see just, that's what people need. They need to experience the love of the Father
Mhm.
in a very tangible way, and need to know they hear him for themselves. And I find there's so much transformation in that.
Did the street evangelism
And
come after or before? I thought that was before when if I was reading correctly, it was
that was
after.
before. Yeah, that was
Before,
before.
because
Yeah.
you felt worried,
Yeah.
right? You were worried about humanity, right? Like it sounded like before.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. I was working also as a street pastor in between. So that was not like evangelism kind of stuff. That was more like we were there for people on the streets, and we would invite them to a meal and things like that. And just it wasn't like trying to convert someone. So
Oh,
that was also after. But you're right. Yeah, in my story, I used to do a lot of like the typical striving fear-based evangelism stuff. And when in my younger years, like it was in my 20s, when before I had a burnout, I was part of a Pentecostal church where, because of my upbringing, I had this powerful encounter with Jesus when I was very young. I think it was 11 or something. But I've also have grown up Catholic, and so I didn't quite have the grit of what happened to me. And then later I went through evangelicalism and went into the Pentecostalism and discovered the gifts and all these things, because that stuff happened and operated in my life. And so I tried to find like-minded people, right? You find people you can talk really things about, just like we talk about it now. It's like I want to talk with someone about what's happened to me. I want to talk about Jesus. I've experienced God, and but because of my parents' divorce and all these things where I felt rejected, and I felt abandoned, and there was a lot of abandonment and rejection and neglect in my family upbringing, that that I had this feeling I need to strive to belong.
mm,
And a lot of this work that I did, I was very good at motivating people. We had this youth group. We started at 5 people, and when I started to get active there, it rapidly grew, right? And because I would bring people to church and pray with them and be very zealous. Like I lost a lot of weight from all the fasting and stuff. My dad and my stepmom got really worried about me and things like that. And so really intense, trying to prove myself to God. And back then there was the whole intercession, fasting movement stuff, and coupled with all kinds of abuses and things like that. And so I would go out, like when I was 18, 19, I would go out sometimes in the middle of the night. It would rain and storm, and I would go up somewhere on a hill and pray through the night and stuff like that, and my parents or my dad and my stepmom, they would come. I would come then back, and I had to work usually long hours as well when I started working when I was around 17, and I had started very early. Like I had to get up at 5 o'clock or something like that. And this sometimes was like, where on earth had you been? Kind of thing. And then obviously like clothes drenched in water and stuff. So but the funny thing is, the church, some churches love you for that. They think
yeah.
you're super holy or something. So
They'll use you.
yeah. And so when I was like 21, I think I could keep it up for 2 years or something, and then or 3 years, and then it was like, oh God, I don't even know who you are anymore. Even though I had this powerful encounter with Jesus, experienced all the gift of the Holy Spirit and stuff very early on, and I had these mystical experiences. But then this indoctrination came, and it was back then. It was this whole holiness revival, Pentecostal stuff, Pensacola, and all these things that was very strong in our church. And I was really into all of that because that's what they told me I've got to do. And so, every time going forward to the altar and all these, and I really said, God, I don't know who you are anymore. And during that time, I met with my wife now, so, Claire, and so and she really, I think she saw what was going on in my life, and also spoke into my life powerfully. And even though she had her own struggles within this whole system, they had moved to Germany and then entered into this environment. But and then we moved to England, and we got married when I was 21, she was 20, and we moved to England after that to work for a healing ministry. And during this time, he started to speak to me about that he's my dad, and this whole parental wound started healing. And one night, we went to a course at this healing ministry, and an Irishman, he preached on the fatherhood of God, and he had already been starting to talk to me about this, and in lots of different ways. Already had some experiences, but at that particular night, what happened was that this man, he was saying, if you want to meet the Father, come forward and spend time with him. I'm not going to leave the room. So there was no laying on of hands or anything like that. And being, in this mood still of, I need to go to every altar call and all this kind of stuff. And I went forward. I didn't feel a thing. It was like I just went forward out of duty. And as soon as my knees hit the ground, suddenly this movie started in front of my eyes, and I was just like in a trance or something. And suddenly all these pictures came up. How my dad taught me to ride my bike, and how he taught me swimming, and how he helped me as a baby. And suddenly all this pain came up in me. I really, and I'm this very calm German guy. I was always striving, and suddenly I was like shouting, why did he do this? Why did he do this? Because I felt a lot of abandonment from my father, and all this pain came up, and then Abba came, and he held me in his arms, and poured his love into my heart, and all this stuff got flooded out.
Wow.
And they had to the prayer team came, they carried me out of the room. And after that, what happened is a complete shift happened. The Bible took on another meaning. Things like, that Jesus was punished on the cross by God, and that he satisfied the wrath of God and stuff like that had been entrenched into me in these environments. It just didn't make any sense anymore. It was just gone. And back then, no one was talking about this kind of stuff. So I had to process it, and that's how I got studying theology, because I wanted to know, okay, something's wrong here. And then I found out that's not what the early church believed. That's not what scriptures say, and all these things. And now, obviously, there are a lot more conversations about that. Back then, no one talked about it, and a lot of people obviously thought I lost my mind.
When you had that experience, did you think
Yeah.
you were shifting into another religion? Like you didn't, wait a minute, this isn't the God I'm so used to. And maybe did you question the whole thing altogether, and at some point, or?
Yeah. I never had that. What it was for me is like, it was more like I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew that was never you. It was more like a remembrance, because I remember. It was because I remember as a child I had these mystical experiences. Like my grandma, she would always tell me, "We could never pass a church without you wanting to go in." There was always something that craved the presence of God. But I couldn't have even said I'm craving the presence of God. I didn't have the language for that, and but I always had this. I'm very much of a feeling kind of a person. I always had this sense of God. But it's funny that you asked me that, because recently I just thought about it. I can't remember any time when I didn't have a sense of God. I mean, I didn't ever think I related to him always, but there was always like this sense of, I knew where it came from, and that he was there, and but now it suddenly shifted into a relationship where I basically knew I'm his son, I'm his child, and this heart of sonship in me got restored. that I had closed because of the abandonment that suffered from my parents, where it closed my heart, it suddenly opened up again, that I could be a child again, that I could live in that joy again, and enjoy life again without having to say and do things to get this approval. And I mean, to be honest, after that, I didn't fit into a lot of the spaces I used to fit in anymore. And
Yeah.
I sometimes still, to most churches I go to today, and I listen to the songs or I listen to the sermons, it's like, I don't know who you're talking about. It sounds so different than from the God I know, you know? But, you know, when people go, even in often charismatic spaces and stuff, it's like, I don't know who you're talking about. This doesn't sound like my dad. It's like when somebody talks about your earthly parents, right? And they don't really know them. They just know certain stuff about them, and you go like, wow, my dad's not like that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how it sometimes feels for me, even today when I go to a lot of religious spaces. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so when that happens and you've had this like shift in your heart, what would you say? Can you describe that a little bit for folks? I know for me, I had very closed heart for many years and was in addiction and struggling to see clearly. And then religious people told me I had to have enough faith, and I never felt like I had enough. So I didn't really learn that it was God's faith all the time until later. But what do you say to someone who's got that closed kind of heart and is just really trying to get through the day, doesn't want to be super spiritual, but just wants to have a good day, but is struggling maybe? And what
Yeah.
would you say to that person? Just wants to know him a little more.
Well, I would tell them. I mean, it's a bit like what John Crowder sometimes says, isn't it? It's you are loved if you feel it or not, if you believe it or not, if you know it, even if you know it or not, or even if you believe it or not. And I think that's what I would try to convey to them. Like and another friend of mine, John MacDonald, from Scotland, he has this saying that he's loving us right now. You know, it's not about him to getting us to love us. He's loving us right now in this moment. It's about us stopping for a moment and receiving that love. And if you can't do that, if your heart is closed, just tell him, my heart is closed. I can't receive. Please help me. And Jesus, you're in me.
I love that.
Jesus, you're in me. Would you help me to receive that love? You know, because I can't, but you're in me, and you constantly receive Abba's love, Jesus. So help me to receive that love like you receive it.
Right.
And I think that sometimes helps me, just because we all get stressed sometimes and stuff like that. You know, or just busy lives, you know, and then you can sometimes forget and catastrophize, you know, when if things happen in your life, you're mentally spiraling, and then you sometimes go, oh, right now I don't feel loved, I don't feel like I'm blessed, but you, Jesus, you know what I need, and you receive the Father's love. You constantly live in His embrace, Jesus, and you're in me, and because you're in me, Abba is in me, and help me to receive that love. And the Holy Spirit make it real, you know.
And speaks our language, whatever language it is. Because I think sometimes the religious institutions have made it like very confusing, I guess, with the language. You know, for example, come to the front and invite Jesus into your heart, or even receive Jesus. Some of that language needs to change a little bit, because I feel like it's like already creating a separation that isn't there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I like it. I like it. What we talked about Bruce Walker, I remember, in one of our conversations before. And he has this thing, isn't it? Christ is in you, and Father has placed him in there. You haven't placed him there. And yeah.
He just says, ask him.
Yeah.
Ask him, are you in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a huge shift. That's the thing. When I first encountered Jesus, that's how I encountered Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
But then I got indoctrinated with all this stuff. You need to invite him, and then you obviously get to this point. Have I gone enough to the altar? Have I invited him enough? Did I really ask with sincerity? And all this kind of stuff people ask themselves. And then the whole thing about, have you spoken in tongues? And then you do speak in tongues, and then it's like, yeah, but is it a real thing? And you know, all this stuff people go through, and
performance and everything.
yeah. And I just find when we hear the gospel as it really is, that we are included, He is in us, we are in Him. and there is no separation. We can't be separated from his love. I found the more I lean into that, the more I lean into his embrace, the more these wonderful things, these mystical experiences and spiritual gifts that just unfold in my life without any striving, without any having to drum something up, you know. And even when I have a bad day, or what I consider a bad day, like you mentioned, when your computer breaks down, you know, it's like he's not worried about that, you know.
Yeah.
And we can still rest into that. And even when we feel anxious or anything like that, that does not change his love and his heart towards us, and he understands.
Right.
And
He's
it's
not punishing us. He's not trying to
he's
make
not.
us stronger. That was BS.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's
Oh my
sending
goodness.
bad stuff to make you stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we do with our kids all the time, right?
It's even in the Bible, it says that, you know, if your father if you ask for a fish, is
Yeah,
he gonna give you a serpent or something like that, right? There's
yeah,
something in there. I can never know the
yeah,
addresses, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it even said, if you know how to give good gifts, how much more does
Yeah,
he,
there you
right?
go.
And so that's the thing. I mean, that's something also learned from Charlie very early on. He's got in his book, he's got his wonderful letter, because it's letters from Abba, basically.
Mhm.
His prayer journaling, he put them into letters,
Right.
and for people to read, and to just have this stirred up in them, have the truth of the gospel stirred up in them, is that and something that I've started to practice then, after learning from him, this prayer journaling and just listening to Father's voice and asking him questions. But one of the things he taught me very early on is this whole thing, you know. You just imagine what a good parent would look like,
Mhm.
and even make a list of a good parent would look like. What do you need from a good parent? And then you only get a glimpse of what I am like, you know.
Mm.
And that doesn't even scratch the surface. And that really helped me, but because it's based on the saying of Jesus, right? If you know how to give good gifts, how much more does he
Yes,
know?
exactly.
And he's a good parent, and just to say to him, you know, you're a good dad or mom, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I love you, you know. I love you. You're a good dad or mom. I love you, you know. And because he's also a mom to us, right?
Yeah.
Or she. And
Yeah, that's a hard one for religious people to wrap their head around, because you hear that and automatically it's like, oh, heresy, you know,
yeah,
it's like, have you read the Bible? You know, there's so many passages that talk about you know,
well, yeah.
the Spirit,
Yeah,
Holy
and it's very
Spirit.
often in the feminine, right? In the
Yeah,
Hebrew and the
it's
Aramaic.
it's the feminine of God. And these things aren't meant to be like literal, but I like to see
Yeah,
it, you know, in my imagination, the way I visualize it is, you know, a father, a son, and a mother. Like I think it's like a family. And that's
yeah,
just simple for me, you know, and it's in one, that they're in one. So that's a little bit different than the three individuals. But that's
yeah,
how, you know, I talk to my daughter about it. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, it is a mystery, you know, we don't have to have it all figured out, which I love.
yeah,
You know, we resolve to know nothing but Christ crucified. So just living in that and knowing that we're already mystically in union with him, you know,
yes,
what could go wrong with that when you
yeah,
have that seed planted? Yeah. And now Paul, do you know Paul Gray? I think he wrote letters
yes,
to Papa, or
yeah.
from Papa too. He wrote some
Letters
really
from Papa. Yeah, yeah. Paul Gray, actually, I sent the information I sent you. I was included in his Grace to All book.
yeah, me too.
He,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that's right. Um, I think I just read your story recently, a
Oh,
couple of
I
weeks
didn't
ago.
even see. I didn't even know it was like you're supposed to write a story. All it was like a little biography. It wasn't even. I wish I knew I would have done something better. But hey,
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, he just took it from the interview he did with
yeah,
us,
I think he
right?
just took
Yeah,
it from the interview.
yeah.
But that's
Because I don't remember giving him some of this information. So,
yeah. I'm like,
um,
why am I in a book? What's going on?
yeah,
Oh, he
yeah.
was
So yeah, Paul
oh, miss
had
him.
that too. That's right. Yeah, yeah. I miss him too. Yeah, we started translating his course into German just
Oh wow.
before he passed away, because we did the pure light worker course with him with some English speaking people online here in our area,
Uh-huh.
and then we talked about translating into German, and then yeah he he left us, yeah. And
Great cloud of witnesses now. Yeah.
yeah, That's right. Yeah, I mean, that always hit me with the whole mothering thing, when there are scriptures like, even if father and mother forsake me, the Lord will take me up. David prays, or in Isaiah he says, can a mother forsake her child? Even if she could, I will not forsake you. And so there is this idea that David, or the psalmist and Isaiah, that they experience something of the mothering of God, and I think it's just this, again, that his love fills out all these needs that we have, that
He loves
it
every
might be the love of a mother. Yeah.
even the Pharisees, even religious folks. Sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes people in the grace movement will like really like say negative things about the religious people, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, there are people. It's all, we're all just the same. Why
Yeah.
criticize them? It's the institution, really. I mean,
Yeah.
he said to the Pharisees, oh, he wept over Jerusalem. He said, if I could just wrap you under my wings and
Yeah.
hold you, he wanted so bad to just see it right then and there.
It's another mother reference, right? With
Yeah,
like the mother chicken gathering her hands
and
under the wings.
gather her chicks under his wing. That's right. Yeah.
And that's what I discovered, that when, through my own experience, what religious people really need and very often lack is comfort.
Experience and comfort. Yeah. Comfort.
The,
Yeah.
or the experience of his comfort, and
Yeah.
like when Paul says, he calls him the Father of compassion and the God of the Father of mercies and the God of all compassion, comfort. The Father of compassion and the God of all comfort. That's something he experienced, and it's even in the present tense. He says, "Who comforts us continuously within our trouble, so that we can comfort us with the comfort we are continuously being comforted with." So Paul experienced something of that comfort. And when you look at the history of people who've been very religious and is striving, and I talk from experience here, what you're really lacking is the comfort, the being loved, the being held, the knowing you belong.
Yeah.
That's what we try to compensate with religiosity and religious striving. Is this? It's basically like an addiction, like any other addiction. I always say there are addictions that are acceptable and addictions are non-acceptable. Like, yeah, drugs and alcohol, these are non-acceptable addictions, but religion is an acceptable addiction. But in the end, they're all trying to compensate for the same thing,
Right.
that to fill that hole of longing and belonging and experiencing that comfort in our daily lives. And it's not something Paul just experienced in the past. It's not just like, oh, he comforted me back then. It's like, it's something I constantly experience, because Paul, we always think of him as this tough guy going out shipwrecked, stoned, but he somehow learned, and I'm still learning that, to access the comfort of Abba, and to receive and the comfort and live in it, because that's in the end what's happening within the Trinity. They live in this comfort,
Yeah.
that Jesus always feels comforted. He always feels the compassion of Abba.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
yeah. And that's what I very often feel. I mean, I get frustrated with religious stuff, it's especially when it gets mean and so on. But for my own story, I know I had people who really treated me horrendously. I've been put on blacklists in churches and been excommunicated and stuff without having said anything, just being there, and then they found out I know someone or liked the book The Shack or something, and then they wrote letters and warned other people about me and things like that.
Yeah, that hurts, man. Like I've
That
had
hurts,
that
yeah.
happen too. And I'm just like, and I think yourself too, I'm such a people person. I love people, and I just,
Yeah.
I don't know, my nature is to kind of like fight back, but like I want to say, but wait, like get to know me,
Yes.
but I gotta just, take a step back, and it's hard for me.
Yeah, I just recently, just 3 days ago, I saw one of the guys who did that to me and actually got me kicked out of a whole denomination. And I just saw him and my heart just broke for him. And it was just like such compassion overcame me for him. And I was just, thank you, God, man. I've probably 10 years ago or something, I would have been pretty angry to see him. But now I was like, yeah, I've been there. I was the Pharisee. I was the one who strove to get your love and get your acknowledgement, and I probably did it harder than a lot of these folks, but Yeah, that's the funny thing. I had people come up to me and said, "Oh, you always talk about the Father's love. You don't know what it means to really pray." And it's, oh, you have no idea. I've done all that, and it doesn't end well. And yeah,
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
they used to say like, well, his thoughts are higher than our thoughts and all this stuff. That was their defense. And
yeah,
that used to bother me for a little while because I'm like, oh, wait, maybe you're right. But then his thoughts are higher than ours.
yeah,
What you were saying with the serpent,
yeah,
or
yeah,
if he gives you, your heavenly father gives, if your earthly father gives you good things, then your heavenly earthly father, father's going to give you even better things.
yeah.
So, yeah.
It is. There it is. Yeah,
Or like Ephesians 3:20. That's a good one.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, I always quote that. I usually start my when I go somewhere and teach or something. I usually started with that.
You know it by heart. I don't know.
Yeah, he can do abundantly more than we think, ask, or imagine.
I got it right here.
And
Yeah. According to his
yeah,
power that is at work within
yeah,
us, to
yeah,
him be the glory in the church and Christ throughout all
that's it.
generations,
Yeah,
forever and ever. Yeah.
yeah. Because sometimes, so I always warn people: if you get triggered because I'm talking too much about his love for his goodness, just think about it. He can do more than any of
Yeah.
you think, ask, or imagine.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can't exaggerate his love for his
Mhm.
goodness. And if I could, then yeah, that'd be weird. And and so, but that's very often and opens people's hearts up. Sometimes you need to go around the mind,
Yeah, exactly.
because sometimes things stirs up in our hearts, and then our mind goes like, "But I've been taught that," and then our mind only catches up later on,
Mhm.
and that's what happened to me. I had this experience of Father's love, and only then I tried to understand and come to the place that some things we do not understand, some things need to be experienced,
Mhm.
and yeah, you can have gained some understanding, but it needs to come from the experience.
Yeah.
Well, in religion, it's always like, I need to understand, and then everything's going to be fine,
Mhm.
but your heart is still empty. And yeah,
Yeah, it really is experiential too, because I remember trying to evangelicalize the religious people after I had this experience. So I would take this little card and I would put, it was almost like a track, but instead of
yeah,
what, the Baptists would put, it was like all the other, the He's a Savior
yeah,
ball and all these really powerful scripture verses about what he wants. His will is that none should perish.
yeah,
And like John 3:17, the one after that, and no one be condemned and everything like that. So I put that all in like one little thing. And I was passing it out to people, but then that became a word. That was
yeah,
like me striving. It's the same thing. So I had to let
yeah,
that go too. And just rest.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been there too. Yeah, that, yeah.
Now
I
I just
remember.
do all my striving on Facebook. I'll just be like, if I hear the Father saying something, I'll just put it on Facebook and like whatever.
Yeah,
People could judge me or not. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I feel for a long time. I always used to love to write, and I
Yeah.
used to write a lot of music and things.
Yeah.
And over the last couple of years, I've also said I've somehow got into striving again because I lost a bit like the fun aspect of writing and creating, and that's when I always notice when the creativity doesn't flow. And
Mm.
somewhere I got into striving that, and I need to take a break from certain things and
Yeah.
rest. And in all fairness, I mean, we tried to build this intentional community. We bought this old schoolhouse, and then I had 2 kids to raise, and so
Yes.
that all, that also sometimes there's a season where you just have to focus on other things, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm feeling more again. It's like, oh, I want to get back into writing again,
Mhm.
and into picking up my instruments again and
Yeah.
write music again, or poetry and those things like that I used to do a lot more. And but that is there are these seasons, and but I also felt it's like, okay, it's time to simplify some things again. And
Yeah. Yeah, that's
that's
important.
that's why I got now, while I was doing my masters, I got off from social media for a while, because it's just
Yeah. Done that.
it was just for me important right now to concentrate on one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you read my story, I have the tendency to do 600 things at once.
Yes. Me too. I'm guilty. Yeah. I think I'm multitasking. Oh, I'm so smart doing
Yeah,
all this stuff, and I'm doing like a little bit of each, and nothing gets done in the end.
yeah,
But Yeah, one of the books I'm actually reading right now, you might find it interesting because you're a dad. So it's called The Anxious Generation. It's a
Oh
#1
wow,
bestseller. It's got a picture of a girl with a cell phone, a little
that
girl.
looks very interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah,
need to.
how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness. So it's a bit on the downer side for sure. Like you got to read it in little bits. I don't know. For me, it's very depressing, but I feel like not the knowledge is important. To understand this stuff. And Papa's been showing me this since Melody was little. Like we've kept her away from a lot of technology, but we're not like super anti, like we're not homeschooling at home and just not talking to the world, living in a cave. We're in the middle there. We did the homeschool thing during the pandemic, but then sort of came out of that. And my husband and I had to work again because we just couldn't financially do it.
Yeah.
So we got her back
Okay.
into school. She's in a good school. It's decent. We're happy with it. I really am truly believing the Lord is blessing everyone in that school. There's no like hierarchy. Like he doesn't love the homeschoolers more than he loves the private. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that
Yeah.
nonsense. And so I'm finally at a place of comfortability with that. But at the same time, I do worry about the influence that public schools have on the kids' minds. Like once she gets in
Yes.
like maybe 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, she gets older, there's going to be that peer pressure to get a phone. There's a peer pressure to do this and that. Like right now, she's only 9, so she's really young and just happy with playing with
Yeah.
snakes and frogs and stuff. But I do
That's
worry
cool.
about the phone. So yeah,
It's
that away as long as I can.
we go through the same stuff. And it's really difficult because we're living out in the countryside, right? And
Yeah, we're in
all my oldest is he's 16, and all his friends are online. It's so they almost can't meet. So there's almost no social life if you're not online. And now in school you almost can't go to school without a computer because especially after the whole lockdown
yeah.
stuff. And we did the homeschooling then, but otherwise homeschooling is forbidden in Germany. You're not allowed to homeschool.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and so you have to get your kids to public school. But yeah, so we need it. We sometimes are really proud of our kids because how much they have to bridge
Mhm.
in terms of home life and in terms of um, and school life,
Mhm.
how it can be so different. And we have a lot of conversations, and and also with phones and stuff, we try to restrict it as much as possible. So I understand that. I mean, one of the things I noticed though is that being Gen Xer, is we had like cell phone boxes on every corner when I grew up.
Mhm.
You could always go somewhere, pick up in a phone box when you were somewhere and call your
Yeah,
parents.
yeah, but that's
And
so. Yeah, that's not
that
how.
doesn't exist anymore, right?
Mhm.
So that makes it all the more difficult.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
in the high schools, which I like
yeah,
this, in the high schools, they actually make the kids take their cell phones and put them in a lock. They have to keep it in a
good.
locker with their
Yeah,
keys, so they can't even
yeah.
have their cell phone during the day, and then they pick it up at the end of the day. And
That's great.
some parents didn't like it because they were like, well, what if there's an emergency? It's like, 10 years ago, this wasn't even an issue. You just call the school if there's an emergency. It's like,
Yeah,
but
that's it. Yeah, that's a funny thing. It's like we almost can't survive without our mobile phones anymore,
yeah.
right? And because we're just not so used to it.
Oh,
And
I have such an aversion. This is so I feel like such a hypocrite because like if I see a parent on their cell phone and their kid is like not on a cell phone just looking up, I get this sadness in my heart. I feel so bad. I feel like, oh, they're neglecting their child. And then you probably see me a minute later.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying I do it a lot, but I'm like,
yeah,
it really
yeah.
makes me think like I hope I don't do that.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I mean that's the thing is usually it has something to do with work. I feel for me that where I have to say,
Yeah.
sorry, I quickly need to answer this.
Yeah.
But I noticed that too. I can't tell my kids to go more aware through life and sit on my mobile phone all the time.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
The conscious
I
effort to,
yeah. I mean, one of the things I try to do is like things like don't use it on the weekend.
yeah. Oh yeah,
And,
that
and,
helps. Yeah.
or when they're home,
Yeah.
put the mobile phone away and in a
Yeah.
place when if someone calls or it pings or something, or my wife messages me or something that I hear it, but that I'm not constantly on it.
Have to be
And
like, I just
yeah,
don't want to become where we're like automatrons to go get it, like I've seen that
yeah,
some people like it really is like that. And it saddens me. It's like, wow, you know, just like forget about it. Your daughter's right here, your kid, you know, like
Yeah.
focus on that, because that could lead to extreme anxiety. And this book says that if you continue doing that, like there's a certain point where there's like unfortunately no going back. Like if they're just consumed by this phone at a certain age and they get sucked in, it's really hard to, you know, fix that. So I mean,
Yeah.
prayer, of course, there's always prayer, there's always God, and he's fixing everything all the time.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
but that's just my own fear coming out and projecting on you for a little bit. But
No,
I
but
know
I understand.
about it under
Understand
control. That's just the
it.
humanness in me is like, oh, why is it gonna be so hard? Such a, you know, that's the one little battle I'm still like, oh.
Yeah.
Easy. The
I
sunny
mean,
days help. I have to say, the sunny days help. I love
oh
sunny
yeah, I can imagine that.
out in
Yeah.
the garden and like to get my hands dirty, and that gives me like a real focus of something to do. But winters are tough here, you know. Winters, I'm just like, oh.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's the same here. It's we've got like sometimes also like minus 20 degrees Celsius, and so the winters can get cold and snowy, and but yeah, I mean that's one of the things that we just try to get the kids out as much as possible, and do also some like wilderness.
Yeah, that's so good.
I've done some wilderness training, and then just take the kids out there and then teach them how to make fire, or you know,
Nice.
or where to find food in the forest and stuff like that. And after a while, in the beginning, they complain, you know, especially
Yeah.
when they come out of school, when they had long school times, and then
Mhm.
it's like, why do we need to do that now? And then, but it takes usually a day, and then they're like, I actually enjoyed that. I
Yeah.
once took my son out once to a course, like a wilderness course, where you learn how to make fire without nothing and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. And he was complaining the entire weekend. And then in the end, we had like a talking circle where everyone shared how they felt, and he was like, that was really cool. I think I'm gonna want to do this again. It's like, what? You did not give that impression the
Surprising.
entire weekend.
That's so good. You didn't give up on him though. You kept going and he liked it. So it's good.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
yeah,
that's the
they grumble and mumble, but you know, they know what you're doing. They
yeah.
know. They see the Father's love through you, you know.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure, yeah. It's good. We got to not beat ourselves up as parents too, because we tend to do that. I'm sure, you know. It's
Yes.
the being a parent, you know. And then there's comparisons, and oh gosh, you know,
Yes.
right? Look at the other guy's lawn. He's always got the nice lawn, and my lawn is messy or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, that's it's
Yeah.
this is always plays a role. Yeah, it's true. It shows how we've been growing up in a system in
It
this
does.
world
It does.
where we
The road system.
compete and compare.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're living like orphans, right? Or
Yes,
that old
orphanizing. You're right. Yeah.
old thinking is still there, and
Yeah, it gets tricky because like I know Paul says, you know, be all things to all people, and sometimes that can get me in a mind boggle because, you know, do I say this or do I say that? And lately it's just been all about like timing and listening to Holy Spirit. You know, don't say anything. Sometimes it's like, just be quiet, don't say anything. Like there's this boy that I'm working with at a school, and he's like really he has a lot of trauma, and
yeah,
lately it's just been like I at first it was uncomfortable because my trainer was like, you got to just be right by his side telling him what to do all the time. And I'm like the type that I don't really like to have to tell people what to do, but this kid needed it. And so I was like, okay, open your book. Okay, do this, you know, and just but quick little sentences, and his anxiety fell, you know, went down, and he wasn't having these fits of rage anymore. So like sometimes you have to actually try something that's
yeah,
uncomfortable, do it, and then, you know, wait for the fruit of it.
yeah,
Today
yeah.
this kid had a great day, you know, there were no fits and just
That's
everything was
wonderful.
good. I've also been praying a lot too. It's
Yeah.
funny because whenever I get assigned a kid, it always turns out somehow I'll meet the parent. And like there's this thing, I'm not gonna put this on publicly, but
Yes.
you're not actually supposed to meet the parent. I'm definitely not gonna put this on public. So edit this on this when you see this. So yeah, because you're not even really supposed to communicate with the parent. It's a weird rule. I think it's absolutely asinine. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
teacher and I'm not supposed to communicate with the parent. It's because I'm a paraprofessional. I'm not the first. So there's a teacher and then there's a para. Para is under the teacher. So the teacher is the
Okay.
one that's supposed to contact the parents. But what happens is people know me from Facebook. So they have, they already know about my ministry or something, and they'll be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I know you from
Yeah.
that. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Do
Yeah.
you like it? And then that happened like 3 times and it was always someone who was either very religious Christian or just a down to earth, but all Christians. So I'm like, that's interesting. So do you mind if I pray for your son or daughter? Oh yeah, please, because I know we're not supposed to, but I figured
Yeah.
I'd ask. And they're like, oh, that'd be great. That's the one thing I don't like about public school. They don't let you pray. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I do anyways. Just keep it on the down low,
Yeah.
and that
That's cool.
helps. And when he was having this really terrible
Yeah.
tantrum, I was just praying the Lord's Prayer because that's what spoke to me at the time, and just like breathing and just staying with him. And ended up towards the end of it, he finally was able to, like, I gave him a little hug, and he was like resistant, but then he just fell, melted.
Wow.
I was like, oh, thank God, because it's so awful to see kids like that,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
the worst. You're just like, oh,
Yeah.
but you feel that's what the Father feels for us, like when we're having a fit. Have you ever seen Peter Hyatt?
Yes.
Peter Hyatt's preachings. Oh, okay. He has some funny ones where he actually creates visual images. Before like YouTube was much of a thing, I think it was a while back. He made a video of a little 2-year-old being potty trained, and it's called what's it called? The
Like a
exploding
burning, is it a burning,
toilet,
burning toilet of
toilet
fire or something?
flaming toilet or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you've probably
I saw
seen
that.
it. And he
Yeah, I see
hides
that.
the poop in the drawer so no one sees it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that warmed my heart. That one, that was so good. It's so true. And then he puts him on the potty and he's screaming, "I don't want it! I don't want it!" That's the hell, really.
Yeah.
He's gonna
It's
get that hell
yeah.
right out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've written an article about that. It's on my website
Oh
where
yeah. Oh.
where one of my kids absolutely lost the plot one day, and
Oh.
just throwing stuff around, and we didn't know. I tried to, and first, should I get more disciplinarian? What's going on? And then, but then I remembered what we did when our kids were born. We every time we asked God for a song to give to them, that we would sing over them while they were still in the womb, and
Oh.
because I heard that there's an African tribe who does that, who when the mother feels she conceives a child, or wants to conceive a child, she starts singing the song, and she teaches the dad, and then they conceive the child, and then with the
Oh,
birth,
that's so cute.
and it's called a birth song, and they sing it
Okay.
through their entire life. And when you lose your way in life, the tribe would come and they sing your song over you to remind you of your
Oh,
identity.
sweet.
And that's the last thing you hear when you die. The tribe comes and
Oh,
sings. So
wow.
we felt to do that with our kids, and so in that moment when our kid was completely losing it, and we were like, okay, what are we going to do? It never acted like that, and I just felt to go in and give him a hug, and the song came to me, and I sang the song, and they started crying, and then they opened up and shared what's going on in their life. And while that was happening, I suddenly heard the Father say, "This is the judgment of God." That he comes with his love, and loving the hell out of us,
Right.
and rather than me being disciplinarian, if you behave like that, you go to your room or whatever, is like just being reminded of their identity is what was the judgment in that moment, the crisis experience that brought them back to who they are, and where they were open to share their heart, what's going on. We were able to pray with them, and they calmed down, and it was all good in the end. But that's what what I've found, how Father deals with me when I feel like um, acting out in rage or whatever, and getting frustrated or stressed, that he reminds me who I am, and that all this stuff does not impact me, and then you can share your heart. And like Paul said, embrace your weakness, or what is it? Enjoy, rejoice in your weakness, because in your weakness my
strength, yeah.
grace is made perfect, or something like that.
Your strength is made perfect in
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and it's something. Sometimes when we talk about sonship and these things, we can take it like a position, yes, I'm a king's kid. But it's more about learning to live in the weakness of a child, and it's not a position, it's a relationship, and to live in the relationship where it's not about how strong we are, but how big our dad is, and to live in that. And for this, we need to learn to embrace weakness. Like even Jesus said, without my dad, I can't do a thing. Sometimes we always want to do things for God, but even Jesus didn't do things for God. He worked with him. Yeah. And he even said the works I'm doing, my work, they are my dad's work. I'm just working with him. And it's like when you go with your child, and you do some task in the house or something, and they work with you, and then you go, you did that really well, you did that great, even though you probably did most of the work. That's exactly kind of how it relates to us. And I need to learn it every day because of my upbringing. I've learned to be so self-sufficient, and to let go of that, and to rest that it's not about me being a great man for God, but that I have a big dad, and in the end I'm just a little child that helps my dad with his plastic hammer, pretending I'm doing something important,
That's when you hear the Father say, "Let me love you."
Yes, it's true.
And it's funny because the last week or so I've been hearing this phrase in my mind, and I feel like it's Holy Spirit again, whispering. And I've always heard this phrase, hurt people, and that resonates a lot with me. But now I'm hearing heal people, over and over, and I'm just like, hurt people, healed people, heal people. So it's almost like I feel the Father's love in that, and that we aren't supposed to just pray for people and just let it go all the time. There's times when we're called to do, but in that doing we are healing because we're with him, and for a long time I was afraid to even try to do a prayer for someone just in case they didn't get healed. So I'm at the point right now in my walk that I'm stepping out a little more in faith to pray for someone if they want prayer, so that's where I'm at, because I haven't been a very fervent prayer, let's just say, for a while, because I've always felt like, I wasn't doing it right. I had a speech impediment, I had ADHD, a processing disorder, all these labels thrown at me since I was a kid. So when God told me to do a podcast, I thought he was crazy, I started feeling like the Moses syndrome, like, what are you thinking the wrong person here? But slow and steady, and I'm finally feeling comfortable with it. So just trusting him along the way. It just, I don't know, it just brings tears to my eyes to just see people light up when they talk about Jesus and God and what he's doing in their life. So it brings me a lot of joy. So
and it's growing, right? The podcast is expanding.
It's weird. It just went and it's not even, I don't even have ads or anything, so I don't know exactly. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm going with it.
You've got cool people on, and cool conversations, and I enjoy it. Whenever I get the time to listen to it.
Hoping for a little more interaction. I love when people comment, because then I can say something back and feel like, okay, people are listening.
That's true.
That's good.
We have the same with Abba Calling, even with the group, right? The group. I always think about how can I make this more interactive, because I don't want to
I think I have some ideas. I mean, you can also put some questions out there, questions for people to ponder and just see if they start to respond a little more, because people get into habits. They just even myself, I'll just habitually post and cross post. I'll have a thought, put it out there, and then I step away and I don't even look at my phone for a few hours, and you know what I mean? And that's another thing I felt like I was slipping into worrying about what people think, or thinking people don't like my stuff or something crazy like that. I'm just like, who cares really? But I was just feeling some kind of way, and I was like, I had to step back and look and just look at myself from the outside, not from what I'm feeling. And I saw it in a whole different light. because there's different, this is going to sound funny, but I think there's like different types of people. There's posters, there's lurkers, there's trolls, there's likers.
Yeah.
And so the people that are likers like everything, like almost everything. There's people that are what is it? Lurkers. Lurkers actually, like, when you look in, it says, wow, 56 people viewed this post, 2 likes, it makes you feel like kind of like, are the 55 people not liking it, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's people that like the stuff, but they don't press the like button.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they're called lurkers. They don't
Yeah.
want to like anything because they don't want people to think something. I don't know. It's just really interesting. Someone should write a book about it because the
Yeah.
psychology of Facebook or social media.
There is something behind that.
Yeah, it's like, and then I was having all these ideas in my head, and then I like Google it, and basically it verified these are real things. It's not just in
Wow.
my head. These are real things like lurker stuff. There's actually more terms than that, but yeah, there's all different personalities who are watching and participating. It doesn't mean they don't like it if they don't press the button.
That's cool.
So if
I need to
that helps,
remember
yeah,
that. Yeah.
people are, the message is getting out there too. I know, because the last 10 years, I feel like I couldn't even talk about this stuff 10 years ago. And now I feel more comfortable talking about it because there's just so many people talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe
Yeah.
that's because we were kind of forced to go online, right? All the churches had to go online for the pandemic.
That's true. Yeah. No, I think that's the wonderful things these days, isn't it? We can use that, having talked about technology, that's one of the upsides, that we can now connect with people all across the world.
Yes.
And talk about these things. And otherwise, most of us would have never found each other,
Right.
and
Right. That's true.
and yeah, as I said, back then in the late 90s, the internet just came up when I had this experience, and no one talked about these things. So it was for me really hard to talk to anyone about it. And now it's like, oh, I could ask him or her about that, or see what they're doing. And yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you said. Yeah, I think that's a interesting observation with the lurkers and likers and posters, and because I think I've been in
And
both
trolls would
roles.
just say anything negative.
Yeah, they just come up to make trouble.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's yeah. Yeah, cool.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we say bye, or I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed in my notes. I think I just kind of I felt led to just like flow with it today and just
Yeah, it
see
was
what
fun.
Abba's doing. And yeah, it's fun. It goes by
Yeah.
fast.
It is going really fast. Yeah, it's over an hour already. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what happens. Right? No, nothing specific comes to mind now. I mean, I think everything that's shared was on my heart right
Some
now.
projects coming up. You're gonna write more. Remember, I'm gonna hold
Yeah,
you
gonna
to
write
that.
more.
I'm gonna text you, Art. Make sure you're writing.
Yeah,
Like
so
creative
I'm,
juices flowing, music.
yeah, music. Yeah, I've started to write poetry again. So I'm going through this. I might post some of them in the future. And I'm working on 2-3 books at the moment about
Right.
different styles of books. One will be more like a bit like the Abba calling book in terms of listening, how to listen and engage with him. And
Yeah, I love your writing.
oh, thank you.
Mhm.
And the other one will be more in terms of like a bit of like the gospel from the perspective of the Father's heart kind of thing. And I think, what was the third one? Ah, yeah, I wanted to write I wanted to write kind of my story down,
Yeah.
what it said, but kind of wanted to do it kind of like in a fun way, a bit like almost like the Forrest Gump story, like stumbling into stuff with God along the way. And so I'm working a little bit on that, but yeah, otherwise I will see what the future brings. I hope we sell our house soon, so we can move into Switzerland, because we're trying to sell our house.
Yeah.
And
How long has it been on the market?
oh, it has been now almost a year.
Oh,
So
okay.
that has been, yeah, the market is quite difficult at the moment in Germany, because the interest rates are quite high. But then we tried to sell it through the bank. We gave it to the bank to do the advertising stuff, and they put the price far too high, and then the interest rates shot up, and they should have known that. But if they don't know, I don't know. but anyway, we had to say, guys, don't you think? I mean, I'm watching the market, and it's like, that's too much money you want, But the bank doesn't care, right? For them, they just need it in the resume. We're selling a house. It's because they're not living from that. And so we had to get another real estate agent in, and he's doing a great job now. But it's need to find the right person. It's because it's the house is built originally 1865.
Oh,
So
wow.
and it was the old school in the place we live in, and it's been renovated twice. So
What
our
style of house is it?
it's like a countryside house, a historical house. It's not a farm, but we've got like a guest apartment
Okay.
and things like that. So, and it's like 3 stories high. So we
Okay.
live in the upper floor. We've got in the middle floor. We've got our office and stuff. And downstairs is the old classroom, and I used to use that for meetings and stuff like that. But yeah, it's also our community kind of dispersed after COVID, and people are just moved away and things like that. And after that stuff, and so now we're basically also sensing to move closer to work and to school of our kids, so they go to bigger schools now. And yeah, so I really hope that's going to work soon. And that's the kind of project we're on right now. I'm also having next to our ministry that do some book translations. So I've translated or in the process of translating books of Baxter Kruger and John Crowder and people like that. So
That's
that
great.
come out. I
Project.
think the Cosmos John Crowder's Cosmos Reborn is translated. It's just being edited, and the Mystical Union we brought out, I think, last year. So but I'm just one person.
Yeah.
And
Is
it's always
that's what you are by trade? Are you a translator or?
I originally studied journalism. So then I worked in publishing and editing and things like that, and then did some translations there, and I do translate at conferences and like also like verbal translations. So and my job, because my job is mainly in English. So but yeah, so you could say, yeah, do part-time this and part-time I'm working with the young people, and so 50-50. Or
Mhm.
let's say 80%. I probably do only 30% the translation stuff because you still got a family to raise, right? And my wife's working too,
Mhm.
and so we're both working. Can work a lot from home.
Mhm.
That's really good. That helps a lot. But yeah. So I hope that stuff goes out soon. So that's the kind of project I'm working on right now, where you would sometimes like to spend more time with that. Yeah, looking after such an old, big building it takes a lot of time as well. So I had to learn a lot of handiwork stuff.
Yeah, that's good
Yeah,
though.
yeah. I'm happy that I did. I mean, even though it was sometimes painful and a lot of work, I'm glad about the things I've learned. A lot of the things I learned,
Yeah.
and
Sometimes it's just thrown right at you, like you get a hole in the roof, like what happened to us,
yeah,
or like a fire or something.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
forced to
We
learn quick.
that's it. Yeah, one of the good things that came out of it, that I had a huge reconciliation with my dad during this time,
Oh,
and he came then to sometimes help me with the house and
oh,
doing
that's
stuff
good.
together, because he used to be an engineer, and so that's now he's retired, but so that was very healing and helpful, and yeah. But otherwise, yeah, that I think that's enough projects for now to
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
yeah. You
um,
don't want to tap into that workaholism too much in the German culture,
that,
right?
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Just rest.
I really want to stay connected to. I had where I did my master's course is a really great university where Brad Jurek is the
Yeah,
director.
that sounds like a really amazing time. Good opportunity.
Yeah, I want to really stay connected more to them because they're doing amazing work,
Great.
and I want to see things like that happen in Europe more, where people can have these conversations. And
What is Brad Jerzik doing these days? Is he doing travel? Is he traveling or?
well, he's basically the principal of the university there now, and I think he's traveling a little bit. What I saw last.
Yeah, because I saw something on Facebook. It looked like he was traveling a bit.
Yeah, they did, that was part of the university curriculum, that there is a travel module, and I think they went on a tour for Europe,
Mm.
and I also did do a travel module, but I did mine in Scotland and Northern Ireland,
Mhm.
where we did a work there concerning the troubles of the Northern Irish conflict there. So that
Oh.
was as part of the peace and justice
Oh, interesting.
study course, which I wasn't officially in. I just took them as extra
Mm.
points. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, he was in Europe a couple of weeks ago. That's true. I saw that too. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there's another book coming up, but
Maybe.
for him, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about it. Otherwise, I said I think I shared what's on my heart, and
Yeah, I mean, we can always do this again. I loved it.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
chatting and
talk about
yeah,
anything.
anything that Father brings to the table. I have a book I'm writing right now called Trusting the Process, and I'm
Wow.
actually looking for maybe even someone to read it, like what do you
Yeah,
call them? Readers? I don't know. I read
proofreader.
I read well, it's just to
Yeah.
read it. Don't have to edit
Okay.
anything, but just
Okay. Yeah.
there's a name for it. I can't think of the name for
Yeah.
it. The reader. I did it for some beta reader. Beta reader.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a beta reader for someone. So when it's done, but it's not. It'll be maybe a couple more months. So yeah.
Okay.
I like it. It's called Trusting the Process from Identity Crisis to Identity in Christ.
Oh, wow, that's
Real
cool.
catchy title.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like the
Yeah, but
wordplay.
it's a little bit of a testimonial and it has some nuances, let's just say, in there. Yeah, so a lot of like Greek in there too, theology.
Oh, cool.
I love the Greek. I love studying the Greek words too, so and the meanings.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I had a little bit of Greek in when I did I did only the basics
yeah,
at university.
yeah. Oh no, I'm not versed in it at all. Just that metanoia, just the different names like
Yeah.
metanoia, tetelestai,
Yeah.
just little buzzwords to get people going, and about the finished work and grace.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
have a
I
whole
would say
series
I'm
now
versed either.
that we finally completed, and Dr. John Whitehouse helped me too. He made a PDF and a PowerPoint as well on like all the different Greek terms that are important to understand and what the meanings are, and how it relates to the gospel and early church
Yeah.
history, going into like how some of the Greek philosophies were actually incorporated into the gospel
Yeah.
of the Western evangelical church, how that happened through St. Augustine and some other
Yeah.
influences. And it's just interesting.
That's
You should
cool.
watch it sometime.
Yeah.
Like the whole
Is
thing.
it?
It's
Yeah.
it's a little bit long, but yeah, there's definitely some good
That's the
stuff.
one. That's the one you sent me last, right? Is
I
that
think
the?
so. It's
Yeah.
well, you could watch it on GAN or you could watch it on Kindness Joy podcast. I have the series in there. It's called Shattering Sacred Cows,
Yeah.
Diving Deep into the Greek.
Yeah. And was it in two parts? I think it was in two parts, right?
Oh, well, there's 12 episodes, but the
Okay.
Dr.
Yeah.
Whitehouse is three. The final three episodes are with Dr. Whitehouse. So I
Okay.
really like that one because it helps for people who like a visual, like myself. You have a visual, you have the audio, so you could see what
Yeah.
what he's saying, and it not just because sometimes the subtitles aren't quite enough. You need to actually see the visual of the
Yeah.
concept the person's talking about and see the Greek letters and everything. So yeah.
It sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Check it
Anyway,
out.
so I must let you go because I got to get my daughter over to softball. The next thing.
Yeah.
Excited. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to bed. I'm just getting out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's school. The kids are on holiday right now, but we
Oh,
got to
yeah.
work again.
Well, send your best to Claire and your family. And if you want to pray, if you want to pray us out, brief prayer, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
Let's pray and then we'll say goodbye.
Abba, thank you for this time together, and thank you that you are in this conversation. Just like I said, Jesus, where two or three are gathered in my name, I'm in the midst. And thank you that you're loving us right now, where we are right now. Help us to receive your love where we are, how we feel, whatever we think right now, feel like now, believe right now, that you would, everyone who's listening to this, that they would experience your love in a very deep and tangible way, experience your comfort, experience your compassion, and that you're singing and dancing over us. And thank you. You're a good dad, and we love you. Amen.
Amen. Good prayer. Whew, I feel the juice on
that. Good.
Good. All right. God bless.
Okay. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.